Welcome back, everybody. I'm very happy to have my special guest here today for episode number 9 of the T.R.A.G.I.C podcast. My good friend, Frances Griarte.
Hey, that's
you
pretty
didn't
good.
think I was going to say your
No.
government name, huh? AKA Freska. Freska on the radio, as a lot of you guys in the San Francisco Bay Area know her as. Freska, thank you so much for coming through, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool that you actually came through because I know it was a little short notice, but we had talked about this podcast beforehand, and you told me that you had watched a couple of episodes, and I also know that you have a story to tell, so I thought it'd be a great fit. And I'm sure it will be. And again, I just appreciate you coming through. But for the people out there that have not heard about Freska, let them know who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, I am a radio. Well, first of all, I'm a mom.
First and foremost,
I'm a mom.
and a dope ass mom at that.
Thank you.
Because I see you in the middle of the show. Answering your phone calls from your daughters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we are in the number 4 market in America
I
trying to
know.
put on a morning show.
I know.
And here she is, though. Go ahead.
So I'm a mom, and then radio DJ. I'm really just starting to really dabble into radio imaging and doing commercials, that kind of thing. But
Definitely.
yeah.
For those of you guys that don't know, and I just want to clarify, she does middays over at Coit 96.5 in San Francisco. And also, she's my co-host. I'm very happy and very blessed to have her as my co-host, along with Tony Sco on KBLX, the morning show. Not the Dream Team.
Yeah.
It's Freska, Rudy, and Tony Sco.
Yes,
all right?
yes,
That's
yeah.
big. I make sure that people know that.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for a little under, 7 or 8 months now together on the morning show?
Yeah. Already?
I want to say
It was
it's been that
September
long.
of last year, I think.
Was it September?
I want to say so.
Somebody
Late
out there do the
September
math.
Or October.
I'll have my
something
super producer P do the math on that, and he'll get the numbers right. But how long have you been in radio for now
like that.
officially?
Oh my God, since '93.
Damn, it's a long time when you roll
I
your
was
eyes.
19.
She's like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
I was like, wait, yeah.
What
Yeah,
got you into the radio world?
I started off as a DJ, so I was like, a part of a mobile crew called Just Too Hype. What's going on, guys?
Okay.
And I met them at the radio station. So I was working at Wild 107 in San Francisco a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is now 94.9.
Correct.
Right, but it was Wild 107 back
so
in the
different.
yeah.
That was the original frequency it was on, and so then I met the guys over there, and while I was there, I was able to intern in all the departments, like a lot of us did back in the day. So I went from promotions to programming to sales to answering the front phones, throwing away garbage, traffic, everything. So I was able to really learn what a radio station does.
Yes.
To have the on-air product, that thing, and I felt that really gave me a well-rounded knowledge of what I needed to do,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the importance of what I'm doing now affects all of these other departments, so you better stay on top of your stuff.
Now I feel like internship is now something that's that the youth. And I could say that officially because I'm almost 40 years old, so I can say the youth.
Well, I'm almost 50, so.
Oh, there we go. No, but I feel like internship now is like a dirty word. But for the people out there that, don't understand what an internship, especially at a radio station, consists of, let them know what your duties were as an intern for like a big time radio
well, let me
station.
just clarify that I got into the station as doing research, radio research. So
Really?
Because they don't have that at the stations now.
Interesting.
So I was like basically calling everybody during dinner time to ask them if they like this song or that song and this song, then hopefully they won't hang up. But after I was on doing that for about 3-4 hours in the day, then I would intern in the programming department, or I'd come early to do stuff in production. So basically it was like, when you're interning, you just work for free.
Yeah.
You work for free and you get all the knowledge, but when you're top of mind and somebody else gets let go or something, they move on or something, then they kind of look internally, at
You're
least
there.
hopefully. Yeah. And so I just kind of was able to get in where I fit in with the right people and right time.
But you had aspirations of doing something bigger in the radio
I
world.
really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I loved music. I started playing piano when I was 4. I had private lessons for 10 years. I played the clarinet. I played the trombone. I played professionally for a little while after high school.
I know you played the trombone because you always you let me know about a tattoo that you have.
Oh,
that details
Yes,
your
still
trombone
there.
days. What does it say again?
A girl of brass.
A girl of brass,
because
y'all.
because I was like the section leader of all of the brass bands that I had played in. It was like either symphonic or jazz band or pit orchestra or so I was music is a really big part of my life. But that's the nerdy geeky band geek stuff.
I mean, we all got some.
But I never went to band camp.
You never went to band camp? I bet you after American Pie, you were like, damn, I missed out.
I should have gone. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The fact that you actually have like a story, you know, behind your journey, that's one of the big reasons why I asked you to come onto the show, because you've been public in your like, because you are a public figure, and you've been public about your journey with cancer.
Oh yeah.
I know you had a serious bout with it, and I'm sure that it's impacted your life in many ways.
Yeah.
But I met you after your bout with cancer. So I got to tell you, you know, as somebody who has seen other people go through that, you know, sometimes you notice a change in them, or it's very evident, and sometimes it isn't, you know. And with you, I never would have imagined that, because, you know, there's a lot of negative connotation that's associated with cancer.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you wonder, you know, I wonder to myself, like, if I was ever put in that situation, you know, how would it change me? But when I met you, though, like, you've always been just a very positive ray of light, so to speak.
Thank
you know.
you.
And when you told me that you had a serious bout with cancer, it really made me put a lot of things into perspective and wonder, like, what is it that she had to actually go through to continue to be this positive person that, you know, I know now.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to bring you onto the show.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, tell us how it all started. Tell us where it all began, your journey with cancer.
Okay. Well, I didn't have any health insurance at the time. And
How old were you?
I was 39.
Okay.
39, and I was working out like 4 days a week. I wanted to compete, doing like a figure competition, because a year prior I jacked up my rotator because I wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu, and I couldn't do that because I was injured. So I was like, okay, working out a lot. Thought I was eating clean, right? Doing all that stuff. I mean, if you looked at me, you'd be like, there's no way that she's sick,
Right.
You know, as
You
I
were,
looked-
like, really
I looked
committed to-
super healthy, like, you
Yeah.
know. And then I was dating somebody at the time, and he basically said, hey, I don't ever see you do monthly checks and stuff, you know? And I'm like,
When you say checks, though, what kind of checks do you mean?
where you do, you know, like check for lumps and stuff.
Oh, okay. So,
You know?
like, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but is that a mammogram?
A mammogram is where you smash your boobs every year.
Smash them boobs.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Boob
So
smashing.
it wasn't a boob smash. It was more like you're actually literally feeling around to see if there are lumps, and you're supposed to do that after you get your period. You always start that as a kid. You should always be in that process. I never did it, and I was like, "There's no way I could be sick. There's no possible way. I'm super healthy. I'm 39. Like."
Yeah.
And then, and so I started I did my check, and I was like, oh, shoot, what is that? You know? And
This person just this person who told you about doing the checks, did they kind of like get that into your head, and then you eventually
he's like, well,
you just said,
I
okay,
never see you do it. Why don't you do that? Like, that's important.
And it was a guy who said this.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. And so I was like, oh, shoot, yeah, there's something there, but I'm healthy. That's not. So 3 months later, I let it go. 3 months later, right? I'm like, oh, shoot. And I had to go into the hospital for a health issue. And I didn't have insurance. So I got let go from my nanny job because I was a nanny and doing radio part-time. Because, you know, it's like there's only a certain amount of, you know, different stations you could work at. And I was like, there were no openings. So I was only doing it part-time at 99.7 actually. And and so my prior employer said, if there's anything that you ever need, we'll put you on our insurance. And that's what they did. So even though they let me go because the boys were old enough now, they didn't need a nanny. But I called them and I said, I have to go to the hospital for something else. And they're like, okay, no problem. We'll put you on. And then I said, oh, well, since I'm here, I might as well go get checked.
Right, since you had the insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then they're like, okay, there is what we call a breast clinic at Kaiser. And so basically what they do is and it was available all that day. Whereas if it wasn't, I'd have to go weeks apart from these appointments. So I got a mammogram, and then I got an ultrasound on it, and then I got biopsied all on the same day.
Oh, wow.
And
that's uncommon usually.
That's uncommon, yeah. And so 2 days later, they're like, oh, we'll let you know what's going on later. I'm like, okay, great, no problem. And they're looking at it like, oh, you know what? It's probably nothing because it looks like it's just, you know, we've seen many tumors before, but that tumor doesn't look like anything. It looks very benign, but you know, we'll just take a look at it and be thorough. Perfect. 2 days later, I get woken up by somebody telling me like, luckily because I went in for another procedure a couple days before, and they said, okay, that's nothing. And then later on that day, 2 days later on in the afternoon, I'm looking in my mind of where I am and was in that moment.
Yeah.
I was sitting down on my bed and I get a phone call. I get woken up from a nap and they're like, oh yeah, we got your results from the biopsy. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And they're like, I'm sorry, but you have cancer. And I was like,
Now you got
what?
this.
Like, no, go and check the person's name. I think you have a mistake.
You got this information over the phone.
Over
though.
the phone.
So they call you. Did you feel like? Cause sometimes you always imagine that when you're gonna get news that you're anticipating some news. And
I wasn't anticipating anything.
You weren't anticipating anything.
No, because I was like, I am not. There's no possible way.
Even though you felt that there was something there, they told you it was benign, and you didn't think anything of it after that. That it was going to be something bad.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, it's probably nothing, but we'll just check.
Right. So they dropped the bomb on you while you're on the phone, and you're at home at this point.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like I was in shock. I literally was in shock. Mm-hmm. I cried for maybe 30 minutes, and that was about it.
Really?
Yeah.
What was going on? Because you had did you have your daughter at that time when you first found out?
They
39,
were. I want to say they were
already?
4 and 6 or 5 and 7. Yeah.
So you get the news. You're thinking about. I'm assuming you're thinking about your daughters at that point. How your life is going to play out after that, or is that even what's going on through your head? Like, what do you?
In my mind, I was like, okay, what am I? I went into like Sparta mode.
Wow.
I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Right.
Let's go. There really wasn't like. I think a part of me was kind of like, oh, like I was sad and I cried, but then it was like, all right, well let's go.
Right.
There was no other option.
There was no time you didn't feel like there was any time to be defeated or anything at that moment. Yeah.
Correct.
So you get the news, you cry for about 30 minutes, and then you immediately go into like fighting mode, Sparta mode, as you put it.
Yeah.
So what's the first step after you kind of like clear the tearaways and decide, okay, it's time to fight?
Well, I think one of the very first people that I called, one was Hazel. The other person that I called too was, Joey Gila.
Right, the splendid
really,
stand-up
really
comic
good
on
friend.
tour with Joe Coy. What up to both of them, Big Joey Gila?
Yeah. See, so he's one of my best friends. We haven't talked in a little bit because he's been so busy. But I called him and he was like, because he had gone through his own bout and stuff, and so he was trying to tell me like, you might want to just try and do some natural things if you get, you might want to try that. And I was like, no, I'm going to do the chemo. I want to do all that other stuff. And it was the harshest thing that you could ever do.
The chemo, that was immediate. You already knew that you were going to go that route immediately?
I was like, no, but he was trying to tell me like, what do you think you're going to do? What do you think you're going to do? So I was like, I don't know. So they just basically said, the doctor said, okay, you're going to have surgery next week. And I was like, oh, okay. So you're going to talk to the surgeon next week, Thursday or Wednesday, and then you're going to have your surgery on Friday. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So, had surgery because they had to figure out how big it was. They had to, then they could put a stage as to where it's at, from the size of the tumor. There's different stages of cancer.
How many stages are there? Because I've heard this term, stage 1, stage 2. What's the deepest stage?
I think it might be different for different kinds of cancer, but with breast cancer, there's 4, and I was 1.
Okay.
So
this is
1,
early
so
in the stages.
Size. Yes, yeah. And so they went in there and they said, okay, if you have drains sticking out of your body, then that means that it's spread in other places, and we had to cut up things a little bit more or whatever. And so I remember I woke up, and the first thing I did this to see if I could find a drain on this side, and I didn't feel anything, but I was still like groggy from all the anesthesia and stuff. And I was like, excuse me,
right.
Do I have drains? And then she was like, no. And I was like, thank God, So they staged it at 1. And but the tumor size, you see the top of the straw?
Yeah.
Was probably about that in diameter.
Like a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, but they cut out. So here's the dot. They cut about this much around it. So about 1.5 inches all the way around and 2 inches deep.
Okay.
And that was like, but then they just left the rest there.
Wow.
Yeah,
and then it's supposed to just heal up naturally after that?
Yeah, and so after that, they said, Oh, I asked him because I was like, oh, it actually doesn't look bad. Because I went to my surgeon because I said, okay, let's go take a look and see what it looks like afterwards. And he's like, oh, well, that's because there's all this fluid in there.
Right.
So that's why it doesn't really look like we took anything out.
Now at that point, so
But they took a lot out.
They took a lot out.
Yeah.
Now, so at this point, you're healing up, and then I'm sure that there's more tests to be ran after that to see what the end result of all of that is.
Yep.
But in the meantime, though, I mean, you're a mother at the time.
Oh yeah.
So how are your kids are pretty young, but were they capable to understand like that something was going on, or did you even bother trying to make them understand?
Yeah, I did. I told them, but I treated it as if it was like a cold.
Right.
Mommy has this, or it's called cancer, all this other stuff. I go, but mommy's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, if we're still going to have fun, we're still going to go do a bunch of things. There might be some times when mommy's tired and stuff, but, and then they may have me take some medicine that might mommy look a little different. Like, I think I might have like short hair or might have any hair. And they're like, okay. So I just kind of like, all right, cool. So, all right, go grab a book. Let's go read a book.
Right.
It was very much that.
So what about the adults in your life? Your other family members, your friends.
Super worried.
Well, yeah.
They were super worried.
What was their response to all of this?
I remember my sister was like, crying and all this. Of course, I was like, I'm going to be okay. Like, look, if I'm not worried about it, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And inside, there's times where your mind plays tricks on you, and you're just like, and I just have to just switch my mindset again.
Tell me about that, because honestly, like I've had people in my life that have gone through cancer or some serious died from it, right?
Yeah.
Or other serious illnesses.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're damn right. Like it could be your mind playing tricks on you, or your mind goes into these dark places. I could only imagine.
Very dark.
It sounds like this is just part of your nature, that you weren't going to be defeated by it. But when your mind was teetering, though, between going from the light to the dark, what was that experience like? And what did you have to do to bring yourself back?
I would ask myself, like, and somebody else asked me one time in an interview, like, are you afraid of dying? And that was like right after my, I don't think, I'm trying to remember if I was still going through radiation at the time. But I told them, they're asking me, are you afraid to die? I'm like, no. I'm like, I think this is my way of, I guess, giving back to society or whatever, and helping them understand where it's like, look, you're here right now. So why are you going to be worried about that?
Right.
Worry about what's going on right now and all the amazing memories that you can still make right now. I think some people get so far ahead in their mind of all these tragic things that could happen, but they forget that they're alive right now, and that's a beauty in itself.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. Like, that's kind of the philosophy that I try to live my life with. I try to be in the moment. I try to deliberately stay present.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, you get caught up in the past.
I'm going to put this down because
go right ahead,
they didn't pay us.
Starbucks got enough free advertising.
They didn't pay us.
God damn you, Starbucks. I want a free croissant. No, a lot of times people get so caught up with the future and what's going to happen and what they predict is going to happen. And I feel like that's what adds up to anxiety.
Yes.
People get real anxious about the future because you're constantly worried about what's going to happen. And then when you're stuck on what happened in the past and what happened, before today and how you could have done it different and how you wish you would have done it. Yeah. That's depression.
Yes.
That's when people get depressed because they're stuck in the past.
But when you live in there mentally, your body lives there too.
Interesting. Speak on that though. Yeah, speak on that.
So after all the cancer stuff, I really started to delve deeper into like law of attraction. And so people were like, oh gosh, she's one of those. Yes, I'm one of those. I remember distinctly as my mother had Alzheimer's. And I remember saying it out loud because I was so frustrated because I was a single mom. I was working 2-3 jobs, and then still trying to have a life of my own. And, taking care of her was really rough. And I remember just like dressing her and feeding her and bathing her and just thinking to myself, God, I would rather have cancer than this effed up freaking Alzheimer's. This sucks. Because at least I have a chance to like, they have medicine for it, or, you have a chance to beat it or whatever. Right.
Right.
And I said that with so much conviction that like it happened.
Right.
And so I kind of feel like, those things that you really feel so deeply about, come true.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I know what it's like to have things so deeply ingrained in your mind. If you repeat it enough over and over again, you do feel like you're toying with fate,
Yeah.
Or at the very least, I mean, you're at least like putting yourself in a position mentally. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't think people understand on a daily basis how important your thoughts are.
Oh,
you know,
for sure.
Your thoughts really are like the captain of this whole ship.
For sure.
You know, and whatever
Yeah.
whatever you allow to have your whatever you allow to feed your mind, or the things that you feed your mind are the things that are eventually going to manifest in some form or another.
Yes.
You know, so when you decided that you were going to be positive about this whole thing, that was you taking control of the situation. And that's, you know, that's very admirable because it's so easy to see other people going the other direction. Did you ever know anybody along the way, like along your journey, along your bout with cancer? Did you ever come across any other people that had cancer that maybe did not take that route, that with that state of mind, the positive state of mind?
I met quite a few, and we went to this chemo class together.
They have chemo classes.
They had chemo class
To kind of let you know
here's what's going to happen with
yeah.
chemotherapy and all this other stuff. And her name was Rhea. I'm not going to say her last name, but her name was Rhea. And she was the one that was like, come on, let's go, let's do this. And let's go and go to this American Cancer Society thing that'll help us learn how to put on our makeup when we don't have hair and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay. So we became pretty good friends.
Yeah.
But she died in the middle of all this, of our journeys, right? And I was like, no, you got to be, you know, just stay positive. And I'm like, stay positive until the very end.
Right.
Whatever it is, you know?
Right.
But I would say that, you know, I want to say that she was kind of, I don't know if you could say that she wasn't positive, but I think she just kind of, she had a different stage also. Okay. So I have said, I don't know, maybe I'm just more positive because I'm stage one.
Right.
I was stage one.
Yeah.
You
As
know?
opposed to maybe perhaps being in a deeper stage would have altered your mindset.
Right.
But
the process is, in my opinion, with anything is the same.
Yeah.
If there's a challenge, you're either going to do it or you don't. You can either be positive about going through it or not.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. It's hard for me to put in words, but it's like if there's a challenge, it's either, you know, you're gonna let it get you,
sink or swim,
right?
And I really do feel like that's.
I'm not gonna let it consume me,
right?
In a negative way,
right?
It's like I'm gonna learn some way about myself and what I've really got to, like, you know, overcome stuff because I'm not gonna let it beat me.
Yeah,
that's
it sounds like it really just reflects on. It reflects on who you are naturally, internally, like who you've always been. I mean, have you always been a positive person like this? Did you always meet your problems head on? Really?
No way.
So you can honestly say that before the cancer, you were not like an optimist to this level.
No, because I used to always complain about why life is so hard. Even my friends were like, dude, you can't even never catch a break, man.
Wow.
I'm sorry you're going through this. Like, it was always, dang, man, something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, and then it was cancer. I was like, what? Like, dude, you can't catch a break with anything.
So what do you think triggered that turn in positivity if you weren't that type of person before? The cancer itself.
Yeah.
Is it because you felt like maybe, wow, like, okay, I'm really on the ropes right now. Like, I got to do something.
No, it was more of like it puts in perspective that everything that you've complained about all this time is nothing in comparison to your life. You know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, single mom, almost got, I wouldn't say I almost got my car repoed, but there were times where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay this.
Right.
I'll have to, you know, I'll call the company and see if they'll let me forego a payment or something like that. You know, so you just kind of make things happen because as a single parent too, you got to be super, super duper resourceful. And then afterwards, with the whole cancer thing, I was like, wow. You know, I look out the window, I'm like, man, I'm alive to be able to see this foggy ass Daly City.
It's interesting. That, right? I mean, Fox City.
And I'm like, I love it. I'm like, I love it.
No, but it's interesting that you say that though, because most of the times you associate a person's current personality and their current mindset, and you say to yourself, wow, if this person ever finds themselves in a tough spot, man, they're really going to be fucked up because they clearly always have a negative outlook on things. So if something terrible were to happen to them, man, there's no saving them. You know, so I just think it's interesting how sometimes something traumatic can like impact us so deeply that it even changes the way we think about things.
Oh, absolutely.
In a way that we never experienced before.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
want to go back to your friend Rhea, because you said something, you were talking about how she passed away from cancer, and you said, you wanted to be positive until the end. Obviously, when you have an illness like this, I'm assuming that you have to think about your own mortality.
Oh,
your own
yeah.
mortality comes into play.
Yeah.
When you say be positive until the end, does that mean that you, you thought about death, which I think is pretty obvious, but
Yeah.
B, did you find some sort of peace with the possibility that, that this could be your final stage in life?
Yeah.
And what does that take from a person to really find that sort of peace and confront it?
Oh, I think I just had to be content with, or find peace in knowing that, like I said, well, I'm alive right now. And if this takes me out or whatever, just make sure you live your life to its fullest. Like, it put things into a much clearer perspective, and it made me realize all of these things that I took for granted.
Right.
People's time, my time, friendships, promises, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was in a relationship at the time that I shouldn't have been in. I mean, it was just...
Did you have the support from your partner? Were they there for you?
maybe 50% of the time.
50% of the time.
If that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was just bad.
I mean, what's that like to have to go through this battle with cancer and feel like you're not getting the 100% support?
Tough, but at the same time, I was like, that was my life. That was always my life, My kid's dad and I, it didn't work out. My dad passed in 2005. This was 2011, I want to say. But in those 6 years, I want to say after my dad died, that's when life got really tough for me.
Right.
Felt
like things were piling on.
Oh, yeah. That was the beginning of the, the damn, man, you can't catch a break. Yeah.
Do you think that, if cancer had not been a part of your life, because it sounds like that was obviously a real turning point.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder if cancer had never been a part of your life, would you have made that turning point in terms of your mentality and your outlook?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, because
hard.
some people will never experience that, which is a good thing. But I wonder where in their life will they find humility? Because I also, I didn't have hair. I was getting parts chopped off.
Right.
Parts of my body were burned, things like that. And what else do you have except yourself, man? The whole vanity thing was a big deal to me.
Right.
Huge. I was like, I'm going to lose my hair. And I had really long hair and all of that. And it's like,
that always seems to be, especially with women, because, vanity is for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody suffers from vanity and has to deal with it.
I like how you say that, suffers.
Because we do, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, at least in my eyes, the truth is that women seem to be more pressed when it comes to vanity for whatever reason.
Except for me in the morning.
Except for you in the morning, girl. I mean, damn, we be in that studio. I'll be like, Freska, look in the rearview mirror or something before you walk up here.
Yeah.
No, but you guys seem to be surrounded by vanity some way or another.
Oh, yeah.
More often than men are. At least that's the way it feels.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned the word humility, and it's funny because this term humility seems to come up a lot when we're doing this show.
Oh yeah.
And I want you to talk about what humility looks like for you, especially when you're going through the process of trying to beat cancer.
Yeah.
What did it mean to you before, and what does it mean to you now?
Well, for example, there's times where I go to work and I literally rolled out of bed, right? And I used to be afraid of going out. I don't have makeup on. I look like a mess. But I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
I really don't care what you have to say.
Right. And these things are not as important as we make them out to be.
They're not, because I'm alive today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to make people laugh on the radio this morning.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy. Joey and I used to always say this. Joey Gila, laughing is such a big deal. This is one of the few things that helped me get through the whole cancer treatment time was comedy. Because when you laugh, it's a flood of endorphins.
Yes.
Right. And it's a physical reaction in which your body goes through when you laugh.
Absolutely. People feel it.
You feel it.
But I think
I
not
don't think
enough people articulate it.
Yes.
But it can never be overstated. Laughter truly is a phenomenal medicine.
Yes.
Because the endorphins, I don't know shit about biology, but I know that's a fact.
Yeah. There is a physical reaction that happens to your body. Your body secretes chemicals in your body when you're happy and when you're sad.
Right.
And when you're sad, and it's a flood of cortisol and all this other stuff that happens, and it can cause inflammation in your body. And so during the whole cancer thing, I also got into this whole book called The Secret.
Okay.
And they start talking about quantum physics and all this other stuff and how your body reacts to different things. And Joey and I got really into, well, he was already into all that stuff, but now I understood what he was talking about. Right. So laughing was a big deal. So I would watch something that makes me laugh before I go to sleep. Or if I felt something like some negative thing happening, I'd switch up and I'd try to find something that would make me laugh.
Right.
So I've said this many times when I started working with you and Tony Sco, was that this is a gold mine to me. I laugh every day.
Right.
You guys make me so happy. And it's not only that, it's like, I know that physically for me, besides mentally for me, you guys have just, I mean, it's like, you know, it's awesome. Not just for me, but what you do as a living for people.
Right.
You know?
And it's a testament to what you were talking about earlier about, how your mind can really affect your body.
Yeah.
And again, that's another thing that cannot be overstated. And I feel like we have like this intrinsic understanding of that as human beings, but we don't articulate it enough and we don't act on it deliberately enough.
Yes.
And I appreciate the fact that you go out of your way to act on it deliberately. You feel bad, you have negative thoughts, you go out of your way to try to find something positive so you can re-inject this positivity into your mind.
Reprogram at that moment.
And you reprogram yourself in the long run.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that that's honestly, Freska, that's like a blessing for anybody to come across that and be enlightened by that idea, by that notion.
Yeah.
Because I really do believe that we have the cure for so many of our ills already within us and within our reach, within our grasp. And so many times we choose not to reach for it and not to go for it, because we don't think that it's actually that powerful. But it truly is. Yeah,
there's a book called Becoming Supernatural. It's by Dr. Dispenza. And it talks about that whole quantum physics stuff about this woman who was so, there was a tragedy that happened in her life, and she was her basically mentally and emotionally, she stayed there.
Yeah.
At that particular moment in her life. So everything else that followed, there was no healing. So everything that followed, she just kept getting more sick and more sick and more sick, to the point where it was like, she was like, okay, if I made myself sick, then I can make myself well.
Right.
And it's physically documented with her story and a bunch of other people's stories. So if somebody that's going through something really rough, Being Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think would be very inspirational, where you might be able to start feeling some hope again.
Being Supernatural. That's a great title.
Or Being Supernatural, Becoming Supernatural.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great title.
And you really have to take yourself, how do I say it? Take yourself out of the situation kind of thing. And be really open-minded.
Right.
Because what do you have to lose? Nothing.
What do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Because everybody's so focused on what the natural is, right? And so many times we associate the natural with, okay, well, like the reason I like that title so much is because I do want to be supernatural. I want to go in the direction that will allow me to find my own cures, that will allow me to consider new things outside of medicine, outside of the physical, things like beyond tangible.
Yep.
Things that are already within me that we very rarely tap into.
Yeah.
And we should be tapping into them.
And so when I started shopping at Whole Foods.
Okay.
And I'm not saying going anywhere else like Safeway or Sprouts or anything like that, because they have some really great organic things. But I started.
Those prices are supernatural at Whole Foods. That's those motherfuckers are skyrocketing.
It's not that much money. And this is, okay, I'm glad you bring that up, because you either put a price on what, a price on good things that's going to make you healthier, or you can pay out of your pocket later with your diseases that you're going to end up getting.
Real talk.
Being very passive with what you're eating. Like, okay, we're drinking Starbucks, and there's all kinds of things in there, but that's a treat for me. I don't drink that stuff all the time. And so what became even more in the forefront for me too after the whole cancer or during the journey was like how good marketing is to so many of us, where we're like, God, like and then all of a sudden you want to have that all the time, whatever it is, however they market it to you. So I remember somebody asked me recently, well, you don't really look at all the labels. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So when I first was diagnosed, I went into my kitchen and into my bathroom, and I looked at everything. And I must have thrown away like 95% of those things because it had parabens, phthalates, sulfates, sulfites, high fructose corn syrup. It had like, it looked at my sunscreen. It had oxybenzone, all of these different things that, and even now, if I go and I look at something and I look at the back of the label and I'm like, what is that?
Right.
Okay. Let me Google it up, and then I'll look up carcinogen, and I'll look up that specific thing, and I look up carcinogen. Okay. Well, I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
And people are not that proactive about it.
They're
There's
not.
that passive, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'll eat this." You know what that thing has caused cancer in laboratory animals and all those other
whatever.
stuff.
But it's 2 for 1, so I'll take it. No, because even you're absolutely right, because the thing, you're naming these things right now, and to me, it's like you might as well be writing. You might as well be reading the periodic table. Like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know what these things are, right?
Yeah.
But my question to you is, did you become aware of this stuff through your doctor, or did you do your own research?
I did my own research.
You did your own research.
Yeah.
Did your doctors ever even offer up this information to you? Like, you know what, you need to start staying away from A, B, and C.
My other friends were like, oh, you know what, you should try to drink this because it's antioxidants.
Yeah.
Antioxidants, because when your body starts going through oxidation, then that's when it's not good.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, don't want to make this to a science conversation.
We'll do a biology.
I know. Yeah. Biology is another time. But, yeah, and so wait, what were we saying again?
Well, we were talking about how you came across all this information.
Oh yeah, so I wanted to take antioxidants. So one of the doctors, nurse practitioners, said, "Okay, you may not want to take that while you're going through this treatment because it might counteract it."
Okay.
And I'm like, "But that's supposed to be good for me." Then I was like, "Wow, like, okay, don't interrupt the poisoning of your body right now."
Wow.
Because that's what chemo is, right?
Right.
And it's systemic. So they take it. I did the injection because there's different ways you could take chemo. There's chemo pills and there's IV. And so that's straight into your vein and it goes everywhere, right? Your brain, everywhere, your reproductive organs, everywhere. I lost my period at the time because it kills your organs.
Yeah. And everybody has different reactions.
And they asked me, are you thinking of having more kids? Because we might need to freeze some eggs. I'm like,
damn.
No, I'm done, but that's deep.
Damn, that's great. When they come into the doctor's office with an ice tray, like, hey, we might have to freeze some.
You want to freeze some? Yeah, put in that fridge right there.
So everybody has a different reaction to chemo, though, correct?
Yes, and not everybody's process is the same. So if the tumor's super big, they might want to shrink it first.
Yeah.
And then with radiation, and then they'll remove it, and then they'll do chemo or something like that.
Right.
Depends.
When did you know when you were going through chemo? Like when
it was a choice.
It was a choice.
By the way.
You didn't have to necessarily do it. But you made that choice. Why?
So they had me do this oncotype test. And the oncotype test basically tells you whether you're a good candidate for it or not so good candidate for it. And then yours comes right down the middle. So we don't have any research for that number. So it's up to you. And I'm like,
don't have any research for that number?
And so I said to myself, well, what if there's one straggler cell? It only takes one to multiply into a million friggin' things. That was my mentality. So I was like, let's just do it. I'm healthy as hell, so I can take it.
You were prepared to withstand the physical.
But had I known what it was going to do to my body afterwards, because I only had 4 chemo sessions, and it was every 3 weeks.
Right.
And there was just a slew of side effects that happened. So it was like, here's because of the chemo. The chemo gave me this, and then that. I was taking medications for that, but that caused this, and I was taking something for that too. So it was like 3 generations that didn't have anything to do with cancer.
Right. Is there anything?
And I was getting pumped with pharmaceuticals, and I was pissed.
Is there anything that really stands out as being the most challenging obstacle that your body had to face because of the chemo?
Oh, there was just so many. I had thrush that burned my tongue all the way down my throat. I had blisters in my mouth. I had I had peripheral neuropathy, so like I had my toes hurt, my feet hurt, my fingers hurt. I couldn't even button my daughter's clothes for school.
Yeah.
I had I couldn't taste my food for like a week and a half, and when I could eat, I couldn't because my tongue was burnt up from the chemo. Lost my hair. They had to also give me, so they kill all the white blood cells, and so they injected me with some stuff so that I could produce more white blood cells to try to fight any infection that might come about. And so those are produced in your sternum and in your hips. And so there were times where I'd wake up and I couldn't walk because it gave me arthritic
effects.
And it was horrible.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, all right, well, it's nothing.
I can withstand it.
It's four cycles of this.
Yeah,
I'm good.
You'll be able to get through it.
And my track coach from college had a really interesting way of telling me how he goes, oh, this is really interesting. You're such an athlete. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he said, and it made sense. And I wrote a blog about this. I'll have to send it to you. But it was like, he goes, you are going through chemo and this whole cancer treatment thing like an athlete goes through their workout because of how you push your body to the limit.
Right.
You understand that what you're doing right now, you will see positive effects later. You know that you're beating up your body right now, but you're going to be good later. It's like and then you cycle out later, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, okay, like this, like you peak your season, and then after season is. So now I'm fighting to get to peak season.
Right.
And after that, I'll cruise this.
Wow. So yeah, that's a very eloquent way of putting it, because I think he's absolutely true. You got to go through the ups and downs to train to be where you want to be. And obviously it's not your conventional training,
right? Yeah.
But it's the same idea.
There's no podium. Like I would say, there's no podium at the end of this. I'm not going to gold medal, but I'm going to get something even better, which is life.
Which is your life, which is the ultimate gold medal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
How, if I could ask you, how did this affect or shape your parenting? Obviously your kids are grown now. They were much younger back then. Do you feel like this shaped you as a parent, or do you feel like this gave you a new perspective on parenting? Because now you're raising two young human beings.
Yeah.
And you went through something traumatic as a human being, and it enlightened you in a lot of ways. Did that spill over into your parenting style?
Yeah. There was one time though I lashed out at my oldest at one time. Because, kids are being kids, right?
Yeah.
And really, she was just really testing my patience.
Right. Like kids do.
And as kids do. Like it's their job, right? But she was just being super disrespectful. And, they don't really know how crazy disrespectful they are. They're just being kids. But I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to just lay it on you real thick right now. And I said, mommy is sick, and this disease can kill people. That means mommy may not be here. And I said, so you better shape up right now, because, you need to be thankful that I'm here to do all of these things for you. And she must have been like 7.
Right.
But I had to kind of put it in that way where it's like, because she knew what death was. She knew kind of like what death was, or like when something's taken from you, that kind of thing.
What was her response? Like, how does a 7-year-old respond to that? Because that is a pretty big thing to lay on.
She wrote a haiku.
She wrote a haiku about it.
Later on in the during that course, because she was during school.
You inspired a poet.
And she said, I'll have to show it to you.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it says, but one line said, I don't want mommy to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it changed my parenting in a way where it was like, if my kids really need something, I'm there for them. 100%, man. Because you don't know, tomorrow it might not be here. It might not even be cancer. It might be something else.
Absolutely. The fragility of life doesn't have to be exposed only through these
sickness,
big traumatic illnesses and things like that. The fragility of life really should be recognized on a daily basis.
After this, you don't know. There might be something like, God forbid, something bad happen. And I'm not trying to speak that into the world, because it's a whole law of attraction.
Y'all heard it here first.
I'm just saying, man, you just never know.
Yeah.
So like this moment, right? I value this so much. Like when I texted you, I said, I'd be honored to be on your show, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I appreciate that mentality so much, Freska, because I think a lot of times when you try to bring this type of thought process to the table in ordinary life, and because we all get caught up in our daily routines, most people will take that as very grim. And they'll say, man, you tripping, man. Like, just live life. And,
like, why are you so negative?
Like, why are you so, it's like, nah, bro,
I'm
it's
not
negative. It's the opposite. Yes. I'm being positive right now. I always, I try to think about death often. If I'm being 100% honest with you, I try to think about death often because I want to be reminded that, I'm only here for a certain amount of time. None of it is promised. And I don't know how much time that actually is. So I don't look at death as, of something to be depressed over. I look at death as a reason to be motivated to live the way that I want to live, because I know that it's going to come to an end. There's nobody gets out.
So what are you going to be doing this amount of time?
Exactly.
What do you have until that date? We don't know what that date is.
But it's coming.
But it's coming. So let's just enjoy life. Let's do everything we always wanted to do. And I'm going to be 50. So I'll be 49 this year. I know I don't look. I know. I'm like, you would never guess it.
Yeah, I can tell it's by the way you flipped your hair. You're like, I know, girl, 24 all over again.
I know. But I tell my boyfriend all the time because he's 50, and I'm like, we have like 30 years, 40, maybe. 30 or 40. We're on the latter half of our lives, man. Right. So let's take all the stuff that we've learned up until now and all the crazy experiences, the heartaches, the losing somebody important in your life, whatever it is. And let's just take that and freaking run and let's just go. Do everything we've always wanted to do. Be positive. I know there's always going to be another challenge that's going to come, but who cares?
Always.
You've been through all of these other challenges already. What makes you think you're not going to get through this one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only reason you won't get through the next challenge is if you let this current challenge defeat you.
Right.
And bring you down and keep you there and hold you there.
And live there. Yeah. You can't live in that moment because you won't emotionally grow.
Yeah.
When you really think about the worst thing that ever happened to you and how long you lived there. And that how long did that piece of negative experience take in space in your mind? Right?
Yeah.
Because then now you're not allowing that is taking up space to have something positive in your life. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it all ties back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, how your thoughts are so important because they will shape you on a physical and on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
So you have to guard your thoughts and you have to be thoughtful.
Right.
No pun intended, but you have to really consider what it is that you're feeding your mind, because that's such a powerful vessel.
Yeah. I mean, you have your mind has a certain limited capacity unless you're able to tap into the other stuff.
Right.
Right. But if you think about that, then you'll never be able to have more. Think of it as a house. You just have you're a hoarder.
Maybe being a hoarder is a sign of intelligence.
No, it's not. So there's so much bad energy in all that stuff when you just keep things, and you can't let go of the things that you need to.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you're going to keep all that old furniture and all this other stuff, you'll never have time. You'll never have the opportunity to bring in the new things that you want.
And if you can't bring in the new, you can't live in the present.
Exactly.
And that's where I think a lot of us, we should strive to be there, because that's really all we got.
Yeah.
Is right here and right now.
And so this is the Tragic podcast. It's a tragedy if you live in those, if you stay in that tragic moment emotionally.
Right.
Because you're robbing yourself.
Absolutely.
You're
absolutely
robbing yourself.
Freska, I want you to tell me how you would describe yourself before your journey with cancer, and then how you would describe yourself now that you're on the other side of it.
I would say not as humble. Taking people's time and my own time for granted. Very impatient. Not as understanding. Not as forgiving. I think I can go on and on about
Feel free.
certain things. I couldn't find the beauty in the simple stuff because everything was just so it was magnified 1,000 times. And then after the cancer journey, I was like, I can't even believe I used to complain about that. Because I would ask my friends, okay, I understand that I'm not trying to minimize what you're talking to me about right now, because I know it's something very important. I go, but I want you to look at it from my perspective, and not because I'm minimizing it, but because I have a perspective because I'm sick right now, right? That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Would you rather be complaining about that or be worried? Would you be rather worried about that? Would you rather be worried about that, or would you rather be worried about dying?
Yeah.
And then they're like, thanks, man. All right. Then they won't be as stressed. They would still be stressed, but they know that, hey, you know what? I'm alive right now to stress about this. So let's just take it for what it is. Hey, maybe your cell phone's going to get cut off. Who cares?
So be it.
At least it's not going to be years of your life getting cut off.
Go get a Cricket.
Go get the Cricket phone. That's, why not?
Go get a Jitterbug.
As I'm saying.
With the big ass buttons
and they're like,
on it.
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So I was like, okay, good. So if that's kind of like my way when people ask me, okay, are you afraid to die? No.
Yeah.
Because at least if I can help enlighten somebody's life that way, then I guess that's part of my reason for being here.
That's part of your journey.
Part of my journey.
Absolutely. Freska, at the end of all the interviews like this, and this has been a great one, by the way. So again, I want to thank you so much for even taking the time to come and share your story with us. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it, but this is, coming straight from you is, I'm sure, going to give a lot of people a new perspective on things. Mm-hmm. And I always like to give my guests the final word. So if there's any message that you have that's just somewhere in your heart, something on the top of your mind, anything you want to reiterate that we've talked about today, whatever it is that you want, you get the final word. So go ahead and share it with the entire world and all of our 104 subscribers. Soon to be more, though.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. You could tell, I really enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.
But I think just really live life to the fullest. Try to find joy in the most grim situations, because it's really how you look at life is how it's going to be for you. Like I can be like, oh my gosh, I don't have this or I don't have that. And God, if I don't have this and I don't have that, then I'm not going to have this. And you're always going to be feeling that you'll be without, when you have so many things that you can be happy for. And if there's just one thing, then hang on to that one thing and it'll grow from there, So, just be positive. And I think when you simplify your life that way, and I have a very small circle of friends now, and I like it like that.
Right. The real ones.
The real ones, and I find the comfort in just spending time with family, and apologize to who you need to apologize to. Don't live with hate in your heart. Do things with love all the time. There's times where it's like, okay, I want to tell somebody off, or I want to tell somebody how I really feel, but I'm like, but I got to do it in a way that is out of love, or to try to tell that person, I just need to understand you better, because maybe I feel this way because I don't understand you. So can you help me? And that's what I say to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could spend another hour talking about it would be great if but it's that perspective, it's that mindset that people have to shift so that they can live their lives happy. Even when they think there's bad things, there's always something happy going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, find it. Yeah, find it. Yep.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very eye-opening conversation for me. I loved it. I'm really glad that you came to join me.
Thank you. Me too.
Shout out to everybody out there who's listening right now. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It's the Tragic Podcast. My guest today, Frances Griarte, aka Freska. Had to use the government name. Make sure to follow her. Right there, y'all. Make sure to follow her at Freska on the air, middays at Coit 96.5, and also in the mornings, every single morning, Monday through Friday, with your boy and Tony Sko. It's Freska, Rudy, and Tony Sko in the mornings on 102.9 KBLX. This has been the Tragic Podcast. It's been a phenomenal interview.
Thank you.
I thank you again.
Such a good time.
Everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Good night and good luck.
Bye.
Smile, pick up your head. It's alright, it's gonna be okay. I know times I've been so rough.